Welcome to episode 3 of the Mother of the Bride Tips wedding planning series. Today we will go over some tips for how to set a budget for your wedding. So let's get started. If you just got engaged or are helping someone plan a wedding and feeling a bit overwhelmed, you are in the right place. My name is Kristen, and I felt that way too when I helped my two daughters plan their weddings. The first one in 2 months, and the second one across 2 years. But I learned a lot from the experience and took tons of notes, and I'm here to help you get ready for your wedding step by step. So let's get to it. The first steps were to create a vision for your wedding and select a date. And if you missed those episodes, you can find the links in the description box below. Today we are going to help you with step 3, setting a budget for the wedding, which may take a pretty penny or two. We are going to break this down into 3 parts. First is estimating your costs. Second, evaluating your resources. And third, dividing and conquering. So let's take them one at a time. First, we need to estimate how much your wedding is going to cost. How do we find that out? Well, with a little research, we can discover that in 2022, the typical wedding cost about $30,000 in the U.S. But I'm here to tell you that it can be done for much less than that if you keep things simple. So let's take a look at what a $30,000 wedding budget might look like. They had a hotel venue, which includes food and drinks and decor. The bridal attire was from a high-end bridal shop. They chose professionally printed invitations. They hired both a photographer and videographer. They got a live band at the reception. They hired a wedding planner to coordinate it all. The flowers were from a high-end florist, and they paid for professional hair and makeup. Now let's look at a slightly lower budget. This budget is for $20,000. This wedding takes place in a rustic barn venue. It has a catered sit-down meal and catered drinks. The attire was purchased at a bridal shop. The invitations were done on Etsy. They chose a higher-end photographer. For music at the reception, they have a DJ with lights. They hired a day of wedding coordinator. The flowers were from a florist. They had some cost for rentals and decor, and they did their own makeup but had a professional do the hair. Now let's look at a budget that's more the middle of the road. So what kind of wedding could you have with a $10,000 budget? This wedding was at a party house with food served buffet style and catered drinks. The wedding attire was purchased at David's Bridal. The invitations were done on Etsy. They had a mid-priced photographer. A DJ was hired. For flowers, they only did the bride's bouquet and the groom's boutonniere. They had some rentals and decor. They did an updo for the bride, but she did her own makeup. So you can see how it's possible to cut costs. If you want to cut them further, let's look at the next budget. So what does a $5,000 wedding budget look like? This one was at a park lodge with a food truck and store-bought drinks. The wedding dress was purchased on Amazon. The invitations were printed by Vistaprint. They found a friend to take the photos. Another friend brought his sound system to play the music. They bought flowers from the grocery store. They rented linens and made their own centerpieces, and a skilled friend did the hair and makeup. This is similar to the weddings we planned for my daughters. Now I have one more example to look at that's even more frugal than this one. Here's an example of a wedding budget for only $2,000. The venue is City Hall for the ceremony, the reception in the backyard. The food is homemade with a case of champagne. They wore clothes they already owned. They emailed the invitations. A friend did the photography. For music, they used a playlist on Spotify. The flowers came from the grocery store. They made their own centerpieces with supplies from the craft store, and they did their own hair and makeup. So now that we have several budget examples, now it's your turn. Take some time to research the costs of the wedding venues and vendors in your area that go with your vision. Think about what you are willing to spend in each category based on your priorities. These don't have to be exact numbers, they can be adjusted later. Another thing you will have to think about is who's going to pay for all this, or how will you divide the costs. This will impact how much is available to budget. Find out how much each party is willing to contribute towards the wedding. This can be a little awkward to talk about, so let's find out who traditionally pays for what. So traditionally, the engaged couple pays for their own wedding rings, gifts for their attendants, accommodations for the attendants, their own wedding attire, the photographer or videographer, the marriage license, and the officiant fee. The parents of the bride traditionally pay for the reception and decorations, the flowers for the wedding party, the ceremony site and musicians, the invitations and announcements, the wedding favors, the limousine if used, and their own personal wedding attire. The groom's parents traditionally pay for the rehearsal dinner, any alcohol at the reception, the honeymoon, and their own personal wedding attire. The wedding attendants traditionally are responsible for their own personal wedding attire, traveling to the wedding, and paying for the bridal shower or bachelorette and bachelorette parties. So now that you have an idea of who generally pays for what when planning a wedding, now it's time to make your specific plan. First, figure out what you and your fiancé are willing to pay for out of your own resources. Then find a good time to have a conversation with each set of parents to find out what expenses they are willing to cover. Sometimes other family members want to pitch in as well. For example, my daughter's grandparents wanted to pay for the cake as their wedding gift. The groom's brother wanted to donate the alcohol for the reception. So on your budget form, you can write down who is going to pay for each expense. And then once you have your budget outlined, keep referring back to it like a map as you go on this journey to create your dream wedding. So if you would like to download some printable worksheets you can use to create your budget, be sure to check the description box below for the link to my Etsy shop. And you can use the coupon code YouTube50 to get 50% off of this purchase. And if you want help planning your entire wedding, I have step-by-step wedding planners available in my shop that will take you through the whole process. See the link below if you are interested. Coming up next in episode 4 is how to choose your wedding attendants. So if you need help with that, keep watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. And to see more episodes of this wedding planning series as they are released, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching. See you soon.